Hey everyone, Sean Taggy here, the Chief Operating Officer and Partner of Memphis Investment Properties. Today we're going to do a little video intro with Patrick Hodges, the Senior Vice President of Lipscomb and Pitts. Patrick, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good for the most part. How about you?
Doing fantastic. Just hunkered down, working.
Yeah,
Patrick.
life is very different these days, I'll say that.
Yeah, so we have a better chance to do more videos, and get to know people virtually, and just kind of where we're having to go to now.
Yeah, a lot more screen time than what I'm used to.
Oh, for sure, man. So Patrick, man, I just want to start off we have a preferred insurance provider and we only have one on our list, and that's you guys. And that's because you guys are so amazing and offer the best rates. Why don't you just kind of briefly explain what separates you guys from other insurance companies?
Yeah, great question. We've specialized for the last 10 years in master insurance programs for large property management groups and large investor portfolios nationwide. And ultimately, my team handles the REITI master program, as you know. And so ultimately, what I want to do is just talk a little bit about what that program looks like for your investors that are coming on. What they can expect, and what's most important is that they're going to save about 30% compared to what they can get in the open standard market. And partly the reason for that is because we leverage the high volume. Okay, so whereas you go to a State Farm or a Nationwide, you're typically bringing one or two houses.
Right.
Versus us, we've got thousands of properties. So ultimately, the insurance companies look at your investors as if they own a lot larger portfolio than what they actually do.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like me if I was just buying one single family and using this REIT, our property management REITing company, we're tagging along with the other couple thousand units we're managing, and it's like we're getting a quote as if we have thousands of units in our portfolio. Yeah,
that's right. But it's not just a pricing play. Really, we design these programs to where, as providing they're managed by you, so they have to be a REITI client, they could participate in the program. So not only do they save money, but the base level coverages that we provide are actually more comprehensive than the standard State Farm policies that are out there and the other standard markets. I'm picking on State Farm because my dad's a State Farm agent here locally, so I've been around it a lot. So I'm just always kind of throwing that in there. But
yeah.
So high level info, that some of the investors might want to know, from a what does the policy cover, right? So we're covering property and liability for all of the rental dwellings, 1 to 4 family. Okay, so 1 to 4 family, they're automatically covered. There's really not a whole lot of underwriting, but ultimately from a coverage perspective, we're including replacement cost coverage for them. From a liability perspective, we're including $1 million per occurrence, which is typically double, if not triple, what a lot of the standard markets will provide. So there's a lot of rental dwelling policies out there that will provide, somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 of base level coverage, whereas our base is $1 million right off the bat. So with that said, we still have some investors that will come in and ask for additional liability limits, but for the vast majority, if they've already got an entity set up, a lot of them are just, sitting tight with the base level coverage that we already have.
Yeah, because it's so high anyways. Yeah, it's great. I mean,
right.
Me personally, that's what I do. I love it. I think it's a great policy. I
right.
can't
And
think
so,
better, really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, couple other things that are unique. We have a 12-month vacancy permit. And not sure if you've ever heard of that or not, but ultimately what that means is your house can be vacant for up to 12 months, and we're not going to penalize the coverage or the rates. That's not typical. Typically in the industry, they'll either exclude coverage after 30 to 60 days, or they'll just exclude it altogether, or they will cancel your policy and put you on what's called a vacancy policy, which is typically double or triple the rate. So we don't provide any penalties. Now, we know the name of the game is to collect rent, so you don't want to have a vacancy, but if you did, from a coverage perspective, you're at least okay.
Right. Me asking a question, I could see a new person kind of ask, why is the vacancy? Why is there more coverage when it's vacant, when it's occupied? Why do insurance companies do that?
Ultimately, the reason why they charge more for vacant property is because statistically speaking, the claims actually go up for a vacant property. And that's because nobody's there to watch it. So there's more theft, there's more vandalism. You know, a lot of times people don't leave the, you know, HVAC system working.
Water leak, pipes bursting.
Exactly.
Injuries, because when it's vacant, you're probably renovating it more extensively.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that'd probably help out a lot of people understand that. And so that's
so,
awesome. You guys
and then,
that. Yeah.
You know, the segue from there, you know, a lot of people are concerned, okay, what if I did have a loss? You know, what would that look like? And, you know, how am I protected from my loss of income? Well, we include coverage for loss of rents. So if you have a tree fall on top of the house, which forces a vacancy,
right, then
at that point, you know, our policy would pay to not only fix the house, but also that loss of income. And so we can vary those amounts, you know, depending on the investor and depending on what their actual needs are. Typically, we're providing at least a minimum of $6,000 of loss of rents coverage per property.
Wow, that's amazing, and hence why you're a preferred insurance people for us, for sure. So now tell us, you know what, we didn't start with this, but, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, Patrick. How did you get started in the insurance company and your experience and background?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, so my dad's actually a local State Farm agent here in Memphis and has been for, you know, golly, probably 30 years now. So I grew up in the business, didn't know anything but insurance. That's all we ever talked about around the kitchen table, that kind of stuff. But so it was only natural for me to go into the business. But I actually started about probably 2003 when I was in high school, and I did. So in college or high school and college, I actually worked for a large group of State Farm agents here locally, and I did all the property inspections on single family homes. So, you know, it started early on. So going into college, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So, you know, jumped in, went to University of Memphis, studied finance and risk management. You know, ultimately ended up doing an internship at Lipscomb in 2008. And around that point was when the last, you know, crisis was. And so, you know, ultimately there weren't a whole lot of people hiring, and they hired me going into my senior year. So, of course, I was ecstatic to, you know, jump on board a large brokerage firm like this one. So I've been here since 2009.
Wow. And Lipscomb and Pitts is a regional, national insurance provider, right?
Yeah. So, you know, we were founded in Memphis in 1954, but we're actually the largest privately held brokerage firm in the Mid-South.
Wow.
We're also top 100 in the country as far as privately held agencies and brokerages go. And we represent over 200 different insurance companies. So me personally, I've got clients in all 50 states. So as an agency, we also have clients in all 50 states, but you know, we're not just tied here locally. We work with investors all over the world. So, and you guys are obviously a big part of that, you know, because obviously we're managing one of the master programs we do with you guys. But yeah, Lipscomb Pitts, we've got 140 employees. And it's divided up into different departments. Okay, so we've got the commercial lines property and casualty department, which I'm in. Then we've got employee benefits division. We've got a trucking department. We've got a personal lines, and then we also do a lot of life insurance. I do a lot of life insurance for you know, a lot of the investors and the business owners that we work with, et cetera.
Yeah, that's another way you can help out our investors get insurance, and also get a nice life insurance quote from you as well. That's awesome.
That's right.
So yeah, starting out, let's pretend, it's my first house I'm buying. I'm buying it out of state in Memphis. I live somewhere, on the east or west coast. That's typically our investors. What do they need to do to get lined up to start to get this insurance and all of that?
Well, we try to make it as easy as possible because everybody likes easy, right? So, ultimately we're typically introduced, with you guys and the new investor coming in during the onboarding process, or if it's a turnkey model, then ultimately we're also introduced as in the closing, as part of the closing team.
Right.
So typically everything we do is automated. And so it's going to be basically via email. If you want to call us, we're happy to take the call or call me or call any one of the members on my team.
Right.
But typically it's just a simple email introduction. You guys are going to let us know, which investor's purchasing which property, my team's automatically going to jump in, typically, within 48 hours and provide options for that investor. All the investor has to do is respond back to that email that says, yes, I'd like to participate. And we handle everything else. So all the way through the closing process.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, our teams really have integrated over time, have gotten that process down, and we're really covering them to the best of our abilities and yeah, mitigating their risk a lot and really helping them out and making it easy and streamlined. And really it is as simple. I had several of our clients, of course you'd love to talk to them, but if they want, they can just say, yes, I approve the insurance and that's it. And then also our property management kind of helps them from then on. I'll also to submit claims. Our property management will help submit the claims, help get the repairs done, and communicate with your team if they have a claim. So it is as simple as it can be. Yeah.
That's right. And speaking of claims, let me just address this for a second. So we actually have an attorney on staff. Okay. So it's a claims attorney. So if there's ever, hopefully, knock on wood, nobody will have any claims, but we know that it's inevitable. If it becomes a complex claim, then ultimately we can get our claims attorney involved for any of the investors. So for all of our clients, and basically he's just a heavy hitter. He takes it to the next level. If we have to battle against the insurance company on something that should be covered that maybe they're arguing that shouldn't be.
Right.
So, ultimately the whole point of that is for, you guys and for your investors to have an advocate during the claims process. And we also have 3 different claims representatives on staff. That's all they're doing are claims. And so they help guide the claims through the process. And, hopefully you're not dealing with that team much because it's a super smooth process. And most of the time it is, but
right.
There's always, once in a blue moon that, somebody has an issue, which ultimately we can get our claims attorney involved. That's free of charge.
Look at that. That's awesome. I love that. And then, so yeah, contact you. We've gone over the insurance process. Oh yeah. So I'm sure you get lots of commonly asked questions. This would be a great time. Kind of, what are the common things most people ask you about, insurance or?
Yeah. So it's funny you asked that. One of the number one things that I see are the people come to me and say, man, your process is great. The coverage is great. And the price is great. I have 3 properties in New York or California. Can you help me? And so ultimately the answer is yes. You cannot participate on the REITI program because it's only for REITI investors, from a local perspective, that's under your management.
Right.
But we do have other programs that we can offer those clients. And so that's, part of the way we're able to, broad brush this thing across the country is because we've got systems available to be able to pick up all these properties in different states. And so, quite frankly, becoming a one-stop shop has been really helpful because we'll also get questions like, hey, I've got a house, 3 boats, and a, lake house, mountain house, and a plane. Can you help us? And the answer is yes. And, our personal lines people, they're in the private client group. So it's a lot like private banking, if you're familiar with that. So the markets that we represent are really a step above your typical standard markets, and they really specialize in the high net worth space. So all that to say, there's a lot of, cross-selling, between what we do because we do so many different facets of the business. So, and then going back to my side, so, the rental dwelling piece and the habitational property space is really just one of my specialties. But what ends up happening is some of the investors say, hey, I own a manufacturing plant, or I own a large distribution company, or I own, 10,000 units of apartments in Idaho. So all that to say, I handle everything related to commercial insurance. So although habitational properties is one of my specialties, we do everything from restaurant groups to manufacturers to distribution companies, et cetera. So we run the gamut.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on, Patrick, man. I learned a lot of new little tidbits. I didn't know about that attorney that defends on behalf of the investors. Some great, the processes you have, making it easy for the investors. Also your great policy and all the other things you offer. Thank you so much for your time. Last question is, how can people learn more about you and your company? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So again, during your onboarding process, typically you'll be introduced to my team, or you can email investment.property@lpinsurance.com.
Okay, we'll put that at the bottom of the video notes. So
Yeah, you can also call me direct, 901-321-1167. So either me or one of my team members will be able to assist.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick, for being on. And yet again, we're so grateful to have our continued partnership. You helping us out on our end with helping all of our investors covering their properties.
Absolutely.
Essential part.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
All right, Sean. Thank you.